I need to talk about these, because I found out what they are, and now I can't walk through an IKEA normally anymore. These are not random. They're not made up. A computer did not generate them. Every single one of these, every name on every label in every IKEA on the planet, comes out of a system that one man invented in 1948. Because he couldn't read his own paperwork. His name was Ingvar Kamprad, and he'd been selling things since he was 6. Matches first, then fish, then Christmas decorations, then pens, and then, in 1943, 17 years old, he registers a little mail order company in the south of Sweden. And he names it after himself. Sort of. His initials, his family's farm, his village, IKEA. The whole company is an acronym, and almost nobody who shops there knows it. Here's where his actual problem starts, the one this whole video is about. Like every mail order company in 1948, he has a catalog. And every product in it needs a code, and he can't keep them straight. The numbers move on him. 1041-B becomes 1014-D becomes 1041-D. He sends people the wrong furniture. He loses orders. He fills the forms in wrong over and over, and he cannot make it stop. He can't read his own paperwork. Kamprad is dyslexic, though nobody in rural Sweden in 1948 is going to hand him that word for it. He just knows the numbers won't sit still. So he does something I think is genuinely brilliant. He takes a little 3-legged side table, a lamp table, nothing special, and instead of giving it a code, he gives it a name. Lövet, the leaf. Because the top is shaped like a leaf. And now he can hold on to it. He can write it down. He can read it back to himself. Problem solved for one table. And then he does it again, to everything. All through the 1950s, he goes through the catalog and rips out the numbers. Every one. Replaces them with words. Nouns mostly. Swedish mostly. Things he can actually picture in his head while he's sitting there filling in an invoice. A magpie. A pine tree. A verb that means to spell. Which, come on. The point is this. If he could see it in his head, he could get it onto the page. And it works. Because at this point, he's basically selling to other Swedes, and everyone he's selling to knows what a magpie is. Nobody needs it translated. It's a private fix for a private problem, and it's holding. And then it stops being private. IKEA opens a store, then another. Then it's in Norway, 1963. Denmark, 69. Switzerland, 73. Germany, Australia, Canada, the United States in 1985. The thing just does not stop growing. 63 countries, 12,000 products, and the naming thing, the little workaround one guy invented because the numbers wouldn't sit still on the page, is now running a global supply chain. And this is the bit that gets me. They don't stop. They don't go back to numbers, which is what you do, right? That's the obvious move at scale. They do the complete opposite. They build a whole system to protect the workaround. It's called Namnbanken, the name bank. 15,000 approved Swedish words sitting in a database, waiting. 4 to 12 letters. Bonus points for an O, an A, an Ö. Can't be a trademark. Can't be somebody's surname. Can't mean anything rude. Around 3,000 new names a year. By committee. With a rule book. For a system that exists because one teenager couldn't read his own handwriting. But it's actually much deeper than that. The names aren't just words. They're sorted. Every category of product has its own rule for what kind of word it gets. Watch. Sofas, coffee tables, bookshelves. Those are Swedish place names. Beds and wardrobes? Norwegian place names. Carpets and rugs? Danish places. Dining tables and chairs? Finnish places. Garden furniture? Scandinavian islands. It's so consistent that once you've got the key, you can read a label from across the showroom and call the category before you've even seen the thing. And then it gets weirder and better. Bookcases get men's first names. Curtains and textiles get women's first names. Kids stuff, mammals, birds, adjectives, bathroom things, Swedish lakes and rivers, kitchen utensils, fish, mushrooms, and verbs that describe what the thing literally does to your food. Every word, on every label, in every store, is doing two jobs at once. It's the name of the thing, and it's a clue to what kind of thing it is. And I'm sorry, but once somebody tells you that, you cannot switch it back off. Which brings me to the GUTVIK. The GUTVIK. The GUTVIK was a kid's bunk bed, named, exactly according to the rules, after a small fishing village in northern Norway. Nobody did anything wrong here. The system worked. The committee signed off. The bed went into production. Everything is fine. And then it went on sale in Germany. Let's just say, it sounds like something rather unfortunate in German. Let's leave it at that. The thing is, it's a real village. The rule worked perfectly. And it's not just the GUTVIK. The fartful, a children's workbench, Swedish for speedy. The jerker, a computer desk, huge in the late 90s. The likkhem, a coffee table. It means happy home. Every single one of these passed the committee. Everyone followed the rule book to the letter. And not one of them means, in English, what a 9-year-old absolutely thinks it means. And you can't really blame the committee for it either. 12,000 products, about 3,000 new names every year, out of a database of 15,000 words. The team doing it is small, and they're working in Swedish. But IKEA sells into German, Mandarin, Hindi, Arabic, Spanish, Korean, Japanese. There is no possible way a small Swedish committee is cross-checking every name against every language on Earth. They can't. So more of them slip through, constantly, quietly, and I'm now fairly sure some of them are sitting on a shelf in your local store right now. Which leaves the last piece, the exception that proves the whole thing. The best-selling piece of furniture IKEA has ever made. One of the best-selling pieces of furniture in the history of the species, the Billy bookcase. You've owned one. Don't tell me you haven't. And it fits the rule. Bookcases get men's first names. Billy is a man's first name. System works. Except, Billy isn't a man's name in general. In the late 70s, he's IKEA's head of advertising, and he will not stop complaining to the design team that IKEA doesn't sell a proper bookcase. So Gillis Lundgren, IKEA's fourth ever employee, the guy who basically invented flat pack 20 years earlier by sawing the legs off a table to fit it in his car, sits down at a dinner in 1978 and sketches the thing on the back of a napkin. And the most successful bookcase in human history is named after the man at that dinner who would not shut up about wanting one. Over 140 million of them. A new one comes off the line every 3 to 5 seconds. In one factory, in one village in southern Sweden, run by the same family since 1947. And here's my favorite detail in the entire story. Bloomberg uses the price of the Billy around the world as an informal index of purchasing power between countries. The global economy, measured in a piece of laminated chipboard, named after a guy who was annoyed at a work dinner. Ingvar Kamprad died in 2018, 91 years old, one of the richest people who has ever lived. He was dyslexic his entire life. That never changed. He just built a company-sized machine around it instead. And the workaround is still running. He's been gone 7 years. The committee in Sweden still names about 3,000 things a year. A new Billy still drops off the line every 3 seconds. And every one of those words, on every label, in every store, they're all still quietly doing the exact job they were invented to do. making it possible for one specific person to keep track of his stuff.